Yes, Alex, we're now confident that there has been an explosion at RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus tonight after earlier regional reports that there had been a security alert on the base. At this stage, it's unclear what has caused that explosion on the base in Cyprus, but this follows reports in the last half hour. There has been an explosion there, and that staff members and families of British personnel at the RAF base, one of the most significant air bases outside of the United Kingdom, they were given a warning and a security instruction to remain indoors, away from windows and around solid furniture, a security threat that would be typically associated with bracing for an impact. Now, there have been no reported casualties at this stage, but what I can tell you is that 2 RAF Typhoon fighter jets have in the last few moments scrambled out of RAF Akrotiri along with an RAF Voyager jet. Now, the Voyager is typically deployed for air-to-air refueling of fighter jets for longer range missions. At this stage, it's unclear why those jets have been deployed, but that has happened after this reported explosion next to or around RAF Akrotiri on Cyprus. Now, the jets in the area, you can see they're in a racetrack position, which is commonly associated with refueling from a Voyager. It appears that those jets have now moved east towards Lebanon, and their markers have then been, their transponders have been turned off, but it's unclear what their scrambling has been done for, what the purpose of that mission is. Now, a strong explosion was heard at the base, which is around Limassol on the south of the line. It's the bottom of the image you're seeing on the screen now, the sticking out pier at the base of Cyprus. That is the sovereign base area of RAF Akrotiri. Now, we don't know the cause of the explosion. We don't know if this was a drone or a missile fired by the Iranians, but it's happened, and this is likely to be linked with the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, announcing that he had given permission to the United States to use RAF bases for defensive operations in the area. It comes also after RAF Typhoon jets forward deployed to the Al Udeid base in Qatar intercepted a drone being fired towards Qatar. But at an RAF base in Cyprus, we know that personnel there were warned of a potential threat and told to return to their homes and stay inside until further notice. That security threat first reported by the Cyprus Mail, with sources on the base sharing information with them. They were told to move away from windows and take cover beneath substantial, solid furniture and to await further instruction. Now, Alex, Britain has not taken part in any strikes on the Iranian missile launch systems or any other assets belonging to the Iranian state, but it has been deployed in defensive operations since at least yesterday, when there was an interception of drones heading towards Cyprus, and also today a drone heading towards Qatar. But the latest we're having is that there has been an explosion at an RAF base in Cyprus, RAF Akrotiri. We don't know the cause, we don't know the damage, and casualties at this stage are unclear, but we do know there appears to have been a reaction. RAF jets scrambled amid this escalating situation.
Let me bring in my panel here, Nigel Nelson, Anna Firth and Paul Cox. Paul, I'll start with you. Of course, the big story here this evening, Charlie was bringing us up an update on that report, which is that actually we believe there has been some reports at least indicate an explosion or a security incident at a base in Cyprus. The Prime Minister, of course, only just made a statement recently saying that we would only be acting defensively against Iran. I guess at this point in time, how long is it before we get a U-turn on that? And do you think that the Prime Minister should have acted sooner?
Well, first things first, thanks for having me on, Alex. I just want to say on behalf of everyone watching, the coverage this weekend of this story has been incredible from GB News, particularly from you and everybody back there. So thank you very much from everybody out there. But I think what Keir Starmer has done this weekend has been incredibly weak. And I couldn't care less about the E3, by the way. Establishing the E3 this weekend means very little.
Yeah,
but
just the E3, by the way, for those at home, explain what that is.
So the E3 is the collective of Germany, France and the United Kingdom, and they've come out with a joint statement to say almost exactly the same thing, that they will support the US, but in a limited way, in a defensive way, and not in an offensive way. Now, I don't understand why, when something this serious is happening globally, that we would put this demarcation between us and our ally. But we'll get back to that another point in time. But I think that's an incredibly important question that has to be answered once we have the time to do so. We don't have the time to do so now because we're on a war footing. And with Cyprus potentially, I know we don't know what caused that explosion, but with Cyprus potentially having an explosion, and if it is related to Iran, that changed things even further than it was an hour ago. Make no mistake about it. If you attack a UK base, irrespective of who does it, then we have to take action.
It's really interesting, Paul, because there were reports earlier on today that were put to, I believe, to the Defence Secretary here in the United Kingdom, and what I heard from him was, well, you know, it wasn't really aimed at us, it was aimed at Israel or something, and it just happened to fly by. That would really put this into question if there was a second or seemingly second attack on the base in Cyprus tonight, and would really question the ability for this government to have made the decision that it made this evening to say we're only going to be defensive. I think we saw a French base get hit as well earlier on today. I think this is pure cowardice, cowardly governments in Europe. Why are they so afraid to jump in and help our allies defeat one of the most evil regimes in the world? This is not Iraq. This is not Afghanistan. This is very, very different. Yet we're hearing that line come out of the Prime Minister too.
It's embarrassing. We have heard successive leaders on this channel tonight who, Trump being obviously the biggest case in point, who give you no doubt that they are on your side if you're a US citizen. That minister you had from the UAE, he made it very clear, if you're in my country, I'm going to defend you. What does our Prime Minister say? He says, oh, well, no, I'm sorry, international law says this. No, I can't defend you. And then he changes his mind and says, oh, well, maybe I'll let you use our military bases. No, I'm sorry, this is not leadership.
OK, I've just got to interrupt. Sorry, Anna. We've just got a bit of a line here from the Liberal Democrats. Well, they have demanded that MPs be given a say on whether the United States can use British bases to strike targets in Iran. Party leader Sir Ed Davey said this: no matter how the Prime Minister tries to redefine offensive as defensive, this is a slippery slope. He must not let Trump drag Britain into another prolonged war in the Middle East. Starmer must come to Parliament tomorrow, set out the legal case in full and give MPs a vote. We have a duty to defend our brave British troops and citizens in the region, and that must be the focus of any operations. The UK must not be complicit in illegal military action. I'm just completely dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded by these people. I just can't believe it.
Well, he's right about one thing. Starmer must come to Parliament tomorrow and explain why he is not standing by our biggest ally and why he did not, right from the beginning...
Anna, this is the thing, right? You're saying what I believe. Ed Davey's saying this is an illegal war. We should have nothing to do. We shouldn't even support them. We shouldn't even support them at all whatsoever, right? On your screens now, by the way, what you can see is Donald Trump returning to Washington, D.C., I believe on Air Force One after spending the weekend at Mar-a-Lago. Of course, I'm sure he'll be returning quite rapidly to the Situation Room. At least I hope he would be. We'll stay tuned on those pictures so you can see. Hopefully we'll get some images, perhaps even of the President of the United States departing. We do know he likes to have a little chat with the press every now and then. We'll of course bring those live shots to you if we get them. But Nigel, hearing this from Ed Davey today, hearing from Keir Starmer, we had Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage come out and say we should support our allies, we should go to war, we should actually at least partake in the bombing campaign because that's what our allies would expect of us. And this sort of sitting on the fence is leaving us completely rudderless in the world. Irrelevant, Britain, as I call us now. We're just irrelevant, aren't we? And meanwhile, we're sending billions and billions to Ukraine to support them. What are we doing here? We're just getting splinters in our backsides by this fence.
We're trying very hard to stop British people being killed, which I think is probably the first duty of a Prime Minister. Anna's absolutely right. I mean, Keir Starmer will go to the Commons tomorrow. He will make a statement. He will explain why we didn't join the original strikes on the basis that the legal advice was it would have broken international law. What he's doing at the moment, depending on what has happened at Cyprus, if Cyprus has been attacked, we have every right now to defend ourselves. Defending ourselves means we can now attack Iran.
Let's obviously we're seeing images of Air Force One here arrive, Paul, the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, of course, who has been quite decisive in his video today to I guess when he's addressing Americans now, he's not just addressing them, he's addressing all of us in the West, perhaps all of us in the world indeed. President of the United States will be flying, is just landed in Washington, D.C. This is very important that he is present in the heart of power in America. He'll be probably going to the Situation Room quite quickly if this war is escalating in any way, shape or form. The President of the United States has shown a lot of strength. He's shown a lot of strength in his video. Some people will, of course, not like that. However, when I contrast that with our Prime Minister, Donald Trump comes out on top for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you had a question to me, Alex. Sorry. That absolutely nailed it. I think a lot of people in this country that are worried about the situation are looking towards Donald Trump now rather than looking towards our own leadership, which is a position in my 46 years that I've never seen. We've always looked to our leadership. We now look way beyond that, and we look to Donald Trump, whose rhetoric hasn't been bombastic by his own standard. His rhetoric has been relatively reserved and reverent, I think, by his own standard, I say again. And it's very important to hear these messages from Donald Trump, because we're just not getting the type of messaging we need to put our minds at rest from the UK government. Ahmed, who you had on there from the UAE, that was wonderful to see that, by the way, because that allayed fears as well. We've all got either people we know or friends or relatives that are in the UAE to some degree, and to hear that the amount of missiles that have been intercepted is 90+% is fantastic. We're just not hearing this type of rhetoric from the UK. The whole thing feels like we're in a court waiting for Keir Starmer as the barrister for the UK to tread incredibly carefully from a left-wing perspective.
And meanwhile, Nigel, we've got Operation Epic Fury, which is what this military operation has been dubbed by the President of the United States, who, of course, as you can see, has just landed here in Washington, D.C. I suspect will be departing very shortly. He said it's ahead of schedule. This has been incredibly successful by American standards. They've sunk 9 Iranian warships, which would be quite a coup. They say they have removed the entire command of the Islamist regime in Iran. This is incredible speed we're seeing the Americans move at here, perhaps even faster than what happened in the Iraq and subsequent wars. American power is at its peak, despite what we're being told constantly. The removal of the president of Venezuela, swift, happened in a matter of minutes. This is peak America. This is America at its most powerful.
Militarily, obviously he's doing a superb job militarily. The question for him now is, where does it go next? That he's talking about regime change. How is he going to bring that about? He is talking about making sure that Iran cannot produce a nuclear bomb. How is he going to do that? We don't know that something even worse is going to come into the leadership in Iran once now we've got rid of the Ayatollah. So at the moment, militarily, I agree with you. I mean, it's been a perfect operation, so it should be. The Americans are really good at this. I'm not sure when it comes to the next steps, we're going to be quite so pleased.
Yeah, well, of course, the President of the United States, Paul, said earlier today that he'd actually spoken to the new regime in Iran.
Yes.
I know it's a similar regime, it's new people because, of course, the rest of them are dead and he's taken them all out. I think he said he's created more jobs in Iran the last few days than anywhere else, which is typical Donald Trump, isn't it? But he's spoken to the new regime. They are telling him, according to his own reports, that they want to do a deal. They want to do a deal with him. However, he said, no, the bombs are going to carry on dropping.
They were trying to do a deal. This is part of the negotiation. What's happened this weekend is very much part of Donald Trump's negotiation. They sat down with the Ayatollah's team, or the previous Ayatollah's team, last week and the week before, and said, you have killed up to 40,000 of your own people. You have threatened the US, you have threatened the West, and we are not standing for it anymore. It's just not happening anymore. You're disrupting that area of the world, and it's unstabilising it for everybody else. So he's taken decisive action. So I'm not surprised that part of his negotiation strategy now is not to immediately sound like he's going to sit down with them. I think ultimately he will. I think ultimately they have to. They either have to surrender or negotiate, because there is no other good end for them.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I mean, seeing the incredible precision of the American and Israeli military strikes here, Anna, they must have wiped out so much of the offensive weaponry and capabilities of the Iranian regime, the pro-Islamist regime in Iran at the moment.
Well, Trump said he did that last year, and it wasn't true.
I think he said he took out the nuclear capabilities last year. Now it looks like they're taking out other weaponry as well, ground-to-air missiles, for example, and of course the Navy seems to be completely demolished from all reports. This is the kind of way war is meant to happen, isn't it? Try to avoid civilian casualties as where possible and actually just go straight for the regime's most painful point here, which is its ability to defend itself.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. America is showing itself to be an incredibly good executor of military campaigns. And the ultimate embarrassment could be that if Trump has his way, he will have concluded the negotiations, negotiated a peace before Keir Starmer's even made his mind up as to whether he's going to defend our interests.
Utterly incredible, isn't it? It's so embarrassing for our country. Listen, Charlie Peters has got some more breaking news for us. I'd like to pass it over to him as quickly as possible.
Well, it looks now that Lebanon may be part of this conflict and that Hezbollah has now entered this war, Alex, because we are hearing reports coming out of the IDF that sirens have sounded in northern Israel following projectiles being launched from Lebanon, almost certainly being fired by Hezbollah, one, of course, of Iran's major proxies in the region. I've also just listened to an air traffic control in Cyprus saying that there are a lot of missiles between Cyprus and Beirut, speaking to a passenger aircraft over the Mediterranean just in the last few moments, that there are a lot of missiles between Cyprus and Beirut. I've just also seen a US Air Force C-17 heavy lift aircraft very suddenly turning around in the middle of the Mediterranean as it approached the south of Cyprus and immediately go back towards Western Europe, amid reports that Hezbollah has likely fired missiles and drones into northern Israel. We know that the siren has sounded in that area. It now seems that Hezbollah has forced Lebanon essentially to enter this war, and that Israel, as it has stood up some 100,000 reservists today, may need to redirect some of those resources to the north of the country. We did hear from the IDF earlier that they were bolstering their northern defences. In recent weeks, they have been striking Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. You'll remember in October the 7th in 2023, Hamas and other Iranian-backed forces were hoping that Hezbollah would join in that mass attack on Israel. Hezbollah did not at that stage join in the sudden assault on Israel, delayed its attack, and then has been degraded severely by the IDF in recent years, particularly after it lost Nasrallah, its leader, in a bunker-busting bombing in Beirut, and several other key leaders have been decapitated and eliminated, to use the language of the IDF. I'm getting more information now about the extent of these attacks into northern Israel by Hezbollah. Some reports that they are up to a dozen missiles being fired into the area. This would bring a whole new front into this war, Alex, and it comes, of course, amid these reports of an explosion at RAF Akrotiri on Cyprus. Now, that is British territory. It's a sovereign base area, both Akrotiri and Decalia on the island. So at this stage, we don't know the causes of that explosion on the base. We do know that a security warning was issued to personnel at Akrotiri. There is a realistic possibility, Alex, that that explosion could have been launched, whatever caused it, from Lebanon. And that could have been a one-way attack drone, an unmanned aerial system, or indeed a missile fired towards Cyprus from Lebanon. It's unlikely that whatever has caused that explosion has fired from Iran due to the distance it would be required to reach the eastern Mediterranean island. It's likely that anything fired from that range could and would have been intercepted at the very latest by the Israeli air defense systems, which are designed to target according to risk. So if they feel as though a rocket is going to land in open area, they will deprioritize that rocket or UAV over those targeting residential areas. A missile heading towards a British RAF base, which houses not only British assets, but also American and Israeli assets, that would be a very high priority. So I think it's highly unlikely that anything that's caused this explosion has come from Iran. What is more likely, and is certainly a possibility at this stage, is that this explosion could have been caused by an asset fired from Lebanon. Interesting that explosion happening in the last hour, occurring at the same time as the IDF confirms that it has fired up its sirens in northern Israel following projectiles launched from Lebanon. As we approach 48 hours into this war, Alex, a new front has potentially opened up with southern Lebanon and Hezbollah entering this conflict.
Indeed, Charlie, yes, it seems if these reports are indeed true that this war may be expanding quite quickly indeed. We did say, and we have been saying, and I've been saying at least, this is a Middle Eastern war, not just a war with Iran, but it is a war now breaking out in the Middle East. If you're listening to us on radio, we just have pictures here of Air Force One that's landed in Washington, D.C. from Mar-a-Lago, where the President of the United States, we believe, will be exiting this immediately. Let's go back to Charlie Peters very briefly.
I can just confirm now that 6 rockets were launched from Lebanese territory, and this is the first time that rockets have been launched towards Israel for several months. The IDF has just said that 1 rocket was intercepted and the rest fell in open areas. As I was saying before, the technology that's used to respond to these rocket attacks, they prioritise according to risk. So if they know that rockets are going to fall into open areas, often they don't bother to intercept them, they just let them fall. So 1 has been intercepted, 5 others falling in open areas in Israel. There are no reported injuries so far, and we're still awaiting a statement from Hezbollah. Footage I'm seeing shared by colleagues at I24 News, a partner agency of GBNews in Israel, shows an interception in northern Israel after we've seen 6 rockets fired from Lebanese territory, almost certainly by Hezbollah. I can't imagine any other armed force in that area launching those weapons. For the first time in several months, 1 has been intercepted. So we are now definitely seeing a new front opening in this war, occurring at the same time, Alex, as that explosion has been reported at RAF Akrotiri. And we have heard from an air traffic controller in Cyprus saying that there are lots of missiles between Cyprus and Beirut, and we have seen RAF jets scrambled, refueling south of RAF Akrotiri and heading east. Could that be the British military sending up our air assets to intercept more possible drones or missiles being fired from Lebanon towards Cyprus? At this stage, we don't know, but it's clear that the Royal Air Force has taken a reaction to this heightened threat and this activity suddenly occurring in the eastern Mediterranean from Lebanon and around Cyprus. And it all comes, of course, just under 2 hours since the Prime Minister announced to the world that he was going to permit the United States to use British air bases, including RAF Akrotiri, for defensive operations in the ongoing war against Iran. Could this have been a reaction from Hezbollah, ordered by Iran, to react because Keir Starmer made that statement? Unclear at this stage. We do know the RAF is up in the air, patrolling those skies.